Hello, Cecilia.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very fine, and you?
Very good, perfectly well.
Thank you so much for being here with us today.
My pleasure.
Um, you are my first guest in a new podcast series that I'm organizing globally with global CX gurus, and you are the first CX guru, Cecilia. Congratulations about it.
What an
Thank you so
honor.
much. Thank you so much for being here. So, um, this podcast series contains interviews with global CX thought leaders, and it will be broadcasted on a monthly basis. The series aim is to inspire, promote innovation, and deliver impactful insights on how to improve CX and loyalty in your organizations. This month, we have Cecilia Hugony from Buenos Aires, and Cecilia is the founder of Real CX, and her purpose is to make successful customer experience accessible to people and organizations by helping them to develop a customer-centric culture impacting employees, customers, and profits. Would you like to talk a bit more about yourself, Cecilia? I mean, your career until now, what you are doing, your challenges.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for having me. I didn't know I was the first one, so it is a great honor for sure. Um, I worked for a lot of years, 20 plus years in the corporate world. I lived 10 years in US. I was born originally in United States, and then I went to live in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, a beautiful, beautiful city and country. Um, and um, and from one way or the other, I was always connected to customers. Right, I started at Teleperformance, which is a call center provider, and then I worked a lot of years for Microsoft, for the customer service and support team, for the Latam region, and then in different industries, in the travel industry, and then service at DirecTV, and then retail. So after a lot of years, I really fell in love with this discipline, with customer experience discipline. I think it's amazing, it's powerful, it's meaningful, and it has a lot of great stuff that we're going to discuss today. So, in the past 2 years, I opened my own company, which is Real CX, and you read my purpose there. This is what I do. I love helping people see their business in another way, in another light, in another dimension, right? That has to do with purpose and connecting with customers and employees, and making it more meaningful, because it's very good for the business and for people. So that's a little bit about myself.
Okay, great. Let's move now to the most interesting part, which is the interview. I mean, I have some questions here that I believe that most CX leaders have the same questions, more or less. So the first one is the pandemic is coming to an end in regards of measures and lockdowns, at least. And I don't know what happens in Argentina, but in Europe we do have some people getting sick, but we don't have any measures. So regarding customer experience and CX, how did it change CX? Could you give some practical examples of how the pandemic made an impact, a permanent impact, in how B2C businesses should treat with their CX from now on?
Well, I think that most of all, it gave customers more power. They're more empowered now. Before the pandemic, we used to tell customers how to communicate with companies. For instance, you have to call this 800 number, or you have to, send an email, or you have to, fill a form, right? But when everything was closed down, there were no stores open, and contact centers were not, answering any phones. Customers started to use their social media, resources, Instagram or Facebook or you know whatever, even LinkedIn, to reach out to companies demanding, expectation is the root of all heartache. So it's all about what customers expect and what companies can provide and how they can, really fulfill that promise that they made customers. So the even WhatsApp, started to be the channel of convenience for customers, and they wanted companies to interact like human beings, right? They wanted to. That's why all the messaging is and conversational, chats are right now the most important aspect after the pandemic, because customers wanted the companies to answer, to react, and companies had to adapt to customers. I think we are in the era of customers, and that, I believe, it's the most important change that I perceive right now. That the power balance, it's more on the customer side now, and that's a very good thing in my perspective.
I see. All right, thank you. So, another question that has to do with your past in customer service. Customer experience is not solely customer service. It's more, but we all know that if you offer good customer service, this plays a key role in the overall experience of our customers. What is your advice to customer service leaders?
Okay, so there's a great book that it's kind of my Bible. It's called Outside In: The Power of Putting Customers at the Center of the Business. Um, that in that book, there's very clear the distinction, right? Customer service is like when you go to a circus, and there are it's like a safety net, right? If something goes wrong with gymnastics, let's say, there's a safety net that has to, be there just in case to 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 make something. It's a reactive measure when something doesn't go the way that customers expected, right? Again, it's all about expectations and how you fulfill those expectations. That is what perception is all about. What you expected was going to happen versus what actually happens. So customer service, it's very important, but it's a reactive, channel. I don't know. I was expecting my product to be delivered on Monday. It's Tuesday morning. I didn't receive it, so I have to connect. And this generates a big effort for customers, right? You have to. Oh my God, it didn't come. I just realized nobody told me, and I have to go and request a customer service assistance, so they can tell me what happened with my product. Or I'm trying to, buy something online, and I have a problem in my checkout process, or I don't find something, or my credit card is not working, or I don't understand an email that somebody sent me. So in the ideal world, and this is something that Disney always talk about, best service, it's no service. You ideally, nobody wants to contact customer service department. Nobody wants to call a 1-800 number. Nobody wants to, because it means that something that you expected was going to happen some way is not happening that way. So right there, you have disappointment. A lot of times you can be irritated, you can be angry, but most of all, I think the most important thing about the distinction is that it can affect your confidence in your trust in the company, right? So customer service, it's very important because you can definitely repair that damage. You can definitely repair, and you have a great opportunity if you do customer service very well. And there's couple of things you have to do, but basically be prepared. You have to have your first line employees and your system and your processes prepared to understand what customer needs, and then be able to solve whatever they are requesting, right? It's the meet needs, the base of the pyramid of the customer experience. You have to, customers want to have a solution. They want their needs to be met. So if you are able to do that in a very efficient, easy, fast, and empathetic way, you have an opportunity to really, rebuild that trust, which is the base of loyalty. If you trust a company and what you expect is going to happens consistently, that's the most important, emotion you can have, to be able to, to buy again and again and again and recommend that company. And that's basically what every company wants, to have customers that will come back and will recommend. So customer service, it's very important, but of course it's not customer service. Customer service, it's much bigger. It's what customers feel, what they will remember, the sensation they will have every time they interact with the company. In every touch point, they will have a perception that comes from what they expected was going to happen versus what actually happens. So if something fails, if they don't understand something, if what they expected what's going to happen is not happening, customer service has to be there and has to be there, enabled to solve, understand, act fast, act easy, and in best case scenarios, have that personal emotional connection with the customer and make it memorable and make it enjoyable. So it's very important. Yes. It's the same. No, it's a part, as you said.
I agree. I have another question. Do you think that good customer service in general, is it a loyalty breaker or can also increase loyalty? Let me give you an example. If you go to a hotel, of course you are expecting to have hot water. If there is hot water there, it's not going to increase your loyalty. However, if you lack hot water, it will definitely break your loyalty with this hotel. So, what do you think of the customer service? Is it something that customers take it for granted that they are going to get good customer service, and if they do get it, it's okay. I mean, no loyalty increasement there. But if they don't, it's a loyalty breaker issue. What do you think?
Well, there's a psychological aspect of customer service. When you have a problem as a customer, usually there's a lot of type of issues that you can have. That's why you contact a customer service. But there's a lot of times that negative emotions are involved. Just because you have a meeting, you're in the hotel, you have to get a shower, there's not hot water, and now your day is all messed up because you can't take a shower, and of course you're going to be um, irritated and disappointed and angry, and you want a solution right now. But because you're so vulnerable at that point, and you need that company to react and react very well, there's a component that says the paradox of the recovered client. I'm translating from Spanish, so I don't know if this makes sense, but what does it mean? If you, in that moment of need, that the customer really is in need of that help, you do exactly as you're supposed to do, which are those three aspects: meet the need, resolve in a very easy and simple way, and be able to connect emotionally with that customer, make a personal emotional connection so they can really end up enjoying that moment, or really feeling very well, right? The behavior aspect. You can have a customer, after you do all that has the loyalty aspect has increased in a bigger way than if that customer hadn't had a problem at all. Okay, why? Because as you said, it's all about expectations. So you are expected to have hot water, right? This is a given. But when something happens, and usually another psychological aspect, people, we don't expect bad things to happen. It's like you buy a cell phone, and a month later something, it's not working properly, and you're like, I can't believe it, this is impossible. And you say, no, it's a machine. I mean, it can get, there can be a problem. I mean, that it is possible, but in your mind it's like, this is impossible. No, it is, but because you're not expecting that, and that gives you like a sense of discomfort, and it's something that disrupts you, and it's not something you expected, you are very vulnerable. So if somebody can listen to you, understand, react fast, solve it, apologize, and be really empathetic with you, understand you, and then try to, and they do an excellent job, and all those things, you will be very grateful, super grateful, and you will know that you can trust that company, because it's all about the trust. It's all about trusting, right? I mean, you expect things to happen as were planned, but if something doesn't happen, but they're there and they take ownership of that, say like, I can't believe it, don't worry. I mean, we have another room right now available. It's in the same floor. We really apologize. We can help you with whatever you want, but please, if you can go to that room and take that shower, and that's what we can do right now. And you say, okay, thank you, and you go, and it's solved. And then they apologize, and they send you a bottle of wine, and we really apologize for this. You have a 15-minute massage in the spa because of the inconvenience you had. You say, wow, I mean, that was great, and I can trust this company, because we know things can fail. The thing is what you do when that happens. So I think there's a huge opportunity, to really connect with that customer. But you have, and this is something that only can happen once. It's like a bullet, a silver bullet, right? No, every time I go to the hotel, the water, doesn't work, and I have to. No, this hotel is beautiful and they are amazing, but everything breaks every minute. No. But if something happens once and you have that opportunity, you have to be ready. And this is all about, employee experience. This is all about having the people that, interact with customers, especially the frontline employees. They have to really understand the psychological aspect of customer experience, that this is all about expectations. So when a customer says, this is impossible, I can't believe it, it's the worst place in the world, I don't have hot water, you have to understand that that customer is going through a emotional, situation about what they expected, what they need, and blah blah blah. So don't get angry with the customer, don't fight with your customer, solve it quickly now, and then take ownership, take charge, apologize, and you'll have a chance to really connect with a customer in a much profound way, because they needed you and you were there. The worst thing you can do is say, well, yes, I know, I'll apologize, we're having an issue with the water, I'm sorry. And you're like, what? So
I
you have to
totally
take
agree,
those
Cecilia.
opportunities.
I also agree a lot with what you're saying, that what you said about the customers. They are not expecting something bad to happen, although they know that there are chances that bad things happen. I mean, I was watching Star Trek some days ago, and the captain of Enterprise, he could foresee his future, and he saw his death. And the other people were asking, I mean, how did you feel? And he said, surprised. I mean, everybody knows that we're going to die, but he was surprised that it happened. We always feel surprised when bad things happen, although we know that they were going to happen. Yeah,
It's
so
not
I totally agree.
rational, it's emotional, like
It's
everything
emotional.
in customer experience. It's emotional. It's how you
Yeah,
feel.
I agree. I agree. I mean, if all these things, all these bad things that could happen were crossing our minds all the time, probably we will be, we'll have depression without knowing.
No,
And
but it's all about expectation. Let's say that you had a friend that told you, hey, this hotel is great, it's beautiful, good price, everything. Hey, usually they don't have hot water. So,
yeah,
and you go there and you see, oh my God, there's no hot water. Okay. And you go and you take a quick shower because the water is not freezing, but it's not super hot. But if it's a five-star hotel and you paid a lot, you never expect that to happen. So, expectation, Shakespeare said, it's the root of all heartache. Everything depends on what you expect.
yeah,
So
yeah,
we
makes
have
sense,
to
makes
know
sense.
what customers are expecting, and we have to be very careful when we deliver that promise. When we communicate to customers, we have to be very careful because things are not good or bad. They are related of what you're expecting, right?
Sure, sure. So let me go to my next question, which is about virtual agents. Do you think that it's time for B2C companies to install virtual agents, bots? Either this is a chatbot, which is easier to implement, or a voice bot, as a frontliners to their customers. What are the pros and cons of of having a virtual agent as a frontliner? What's your opinion?
Well, I think this already happened.
Yeah,
It's here for sure. I think that it's a super interesting process. I think it's fascinating because at the end of the day, the if it's a bot or if it's an agent, a human person, the concepts and their basics are the same, right? Customers want solutions. When they interact with a company, they have a need. They need something. They're not like, hey, it's Saturday evening. I have nothing to do. I'm going to call the 1-800 to my cell phone company just to chat with it. No, they need something, right? So, the most important thing to understand is whatever it's a bot or whatever it's a person, they have to be able to resolve. So, you have to understand exactly what our customers needs, what they need, and you have to have a processes are the base of customer experience, because this what the most important thing for customers is that somebody resolves, right, the effectiveness of that. To be effective, you need processes. Those processes can be conveyed through a system, a bot, or a person. They have to solve. So, what happened when bots started to appear is that they were enabled to solve. They were dummies, right? So, because they were learning, the technology, the artificial intelligence, or whatever technology relies, bots rely on, that technology, they are like a 4-year-old kid, right? It depends on what you teach them. If you teach a baby from 1 year old to eat with a fork and a knife, you know, um, and they're like 4-year olds, and you say, wow, this kid's incredible, look how they eat, and they eat the chicken with a knife and fork, and you'd say, wow, what an incredible kid, because you taught them. If you don't teach them and you give them a chicken and they're hungry, they're gonna grab it with their hands and they're gonna eat like that. And say, oh, this is disgusting, this is terrible, what a horrible kid. Because it's all about what you taught them. The same happened with bots. If you do a very good programming and you understand what customers need, how you can interpret the language, the natural language, and how they can interpret what they need and how you can solve them. And if you know exactly, you're very close to your customer and you understand what they need and how to solve, and you have good processes, you can deliver a very effective, chatbot that can resolve until the point they can't, and at that point, easily, without
Escalate.
everything, you deliver that to an agent that, guess what, should be able to resolve. That's the most important thing. So I think it's super efficient for companies from a cost perspective and for customers to be able to have a good, you know, bot solution. It's amazing, because you can, get what you want faster and easier. Here in Argentina, we have an amazing, amazing, amazing example. It's called the Boti. It's called it's the chatbot from the city. The city of Buenos Aires provides an amazing experience. You can get whatever you want. I mean, you are in a street and you chat via WhatsApp and you say, "Hey, I'm here. This is the address. I need to park. Can I?" And they will immediately will tell you, "Okay, hi Cecilia." It's super friendly. It presents itself as a bot, never as a human being. That's a very important thing. "Hey, I'm Body. That's the name, and I'm from the city. Um, Allow me to see your address." It tells you your location, and you allow, and they say, "Yes, Cecilia, you can park your car here." You know,
Amazing.
so amazing. And imagine with COVID, it was amazing. The other day I had to travel, and I said, "Certificate, COVID certificate," and they told me, "Give me your document, your number." I put the number. Boom, here's the PDF with your
Wow.
vaccination certification. Boom. It was, I think, 15 seconds. Amazing. I don't want to talk to an agent for that. you
Yeah.
know I don't
Yeah.
want to talk to a human being. "Hi, how are you?" "Well, hi Cecilia, how may I assist you?" I don't. Or if I want to transfer money from my bank account, I don't want to talk to nobody. I want it to work. That's the most important thing. I want my solution.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally agree. In Pobuca, we say that virtual agents have two skills. One is to offer generic customer service, and as you said before, to have access to a knowledge base and be ready at any time to escalate to a human agent. Because in most of the cases, the virtual agents bots cannot resolve, complex things, complicated things. However, there are some, we call them digital commerce issues, like Wismo, where is my order? Or I ordered the green one and I would like to switch with the red one. I mean, such kind of stuff. We even feel better when we communicate with bots and not with humans for such stuff. We feel that, I'm going to bother them. It's not a critical thing to ask when my order is coming. So maybe let's skip it. If it's a human agent, I don't want to bother them. But if it's a bot, you feel so relaxed to communicate for such transactional stuff, let's say, that the bots have. Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Another question, now that we discussed about virtual agents, and could you think and could you share with us other ideas that AI will have an impact to customer experience apart from the bot thing? I mean, how artificial intelligence is going to change the experiences that businesses offer to their customers.
Many, 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 many ways. Many ways. Um, you know, I think that we as human, we have things that artificial intelligence will never have, which is our ability to connect emotionally. But in order to do that, you need data, you need information, and that's where um, the artificial intelligence can really, really help. To go through all that data and bring to the customer or to the bot the information that it's most relevant to solve whatever customers are in need of, right? So I think, let's say, I don't know, I'm an agent, and I'm interacting with social media. I'm looking at comments on Instagram. How amazing that I can have the best answer pre-selected by artificial intelligence, and then I can put my own thing. But I have that initial understanding of looking at all the customer history, and telling me, hey, this customer needs this, and I can take that information. Then on top of that, I can do my own thing, if my own human ability to connect, which is unique, but a lot of times we can't get to that point of focusing on the emotional connection that is required to make a wow experience memorable, because we are wasting our energy on things that could be pre-selected, pre-arranged, and or we don't have the solution and we have to look for a process, and the system is not working. So I think that everything that is the basics, and then general understanding and connecting all that data that we cannot do with our minds, we can use the technology and the artificial intelligence to preset all that. And then we can dedicate our time and resources and effort in the things that, are only human, which is that personal emotional connection. So I think that in a lot of aspects, it's helping, and I think that it's something that we cannot go back now.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
super
I
powerful.
agree. All right, thank you. So let me read the list. I mean, Gartner interviewed around 1,000 CX leaders in order what are the top project priorities for them. And I have in this list like personalization of customer experience, customer journey mapping, user experience design, omni-channel and cross-channel customer engagement and customer service, single view of the customer 360, yeah. But the top two project priorities are by far are to measure customer experience and get CX metrics and KPIs, and also to get voice of customer insights. I mean, it's 64% of them said yes to measure CX is very important, and the next it's 45%. I mean, it's a great difference. Um, do you agree? Do you agree with this? I mean, do you agree with CX leaders that say that the first thing that we need to do is to measure where we stand with CX metrics and KPIs and voice of customer?
Yes, what you don't measure, you can do anything if you don't measure. I like to say, when you don't measure, it doesn't exist actually, because you don't know. And because customer experience has so much to do with emotions, it is easy to do the inside out look of the situation, right? I think customer blah, blah, blah. I believe if I were the customer, I would want, that's a very natural thing that we tend to make decisions based on what we believe it's good, our experience. And I can say, hey, I've been working in this, area for 10 years. I know what to do. I've done this before. So, or the market is going this way. So, and I believe, but the basis of a customer centric culture is to be able to have every leader in the company and every employee in the company actually making decisions based on the outside in. So based on what customers are feeling. If you know that a customer really, uh, these are the elements that connects that customer with the company. So whatever works, whatever makes customers trust that company, you should be able to take that information and make it absolutely vital that everybody knows this. You have to duplicate this and work on, train people on, they have to do this because this is the reason why customers are, choosing us and buying from us and recommending us. So you should take that voice of the customer and measure that. And with that information, if you replicate this, and let's say you have, 100 customers that really, trust your company and repurchase and recommend based on this information, you should be able to, instead of 100, be able to have 10,000 of these customers, because this is what your business is going to, feed from, and again, and on the other hand, I'd say if you have a customer that they are disappointed with with a company, and they say, you are, the worst company in the world, you lied to me, and you say, hey, but we don't lie. Well, but they felt this way because they expected something that didn't happen, so their perception is that you lied. So let's understand what happened. But it all starts with measuring and listening. And I believe that, I love the evolution that customer service has taken, and I believe, the pandemics, as we said at the beginning, really gave customers more empowerment, which is a very good thing, as I said. Why? Because, I think that great customer centric companies were exposed in a good way, and bad customer centric companies were exposed in a good way as well. This pandemic, what did was to expose companies that really were listening, measuring, understanding what customers were feeling, and taking that information to make every decision about processes, behaviors, systems, how to educate a chatbot, right? How to train your people, how to communicate and answer on a social media platform, So I definitely believe that if the only thing as a company, the only thing we focus would be on listening to customers, understand how they feel, and this is what measure is all about. Sometimes we think that, the only way to measure is one way, and there's a lot of ways to measure. I think that measurement in customer experience, it's about listening, you know listening, understanding, and taking that information and transforming that information into knowledge that you can put into action. And what is put into action? With that information that was converted into knowledge and was converted into, actionable knowledge, let's say, you should be able to train, communicate, and work on how your employees think, act, communicate, how processes are written, how policies are made, and that's the best formula in the world. For me, I believe that that's the key of every company being successful, has to do with this: how you measure, how you understand, and how you apply all that information. Because it's like having the answers to the exam. Let's say you're going to take an exam, and they say, hey, here are the answers. That's great. How would you do? What grade would you have if you know the answer? You would have a 10, right? Okay, this is the same. Customers are telling you, hey, we love this. Keep on doing that. And hey, we don't like this. This made us, feel, unsafe. Don't trust you, and don't trust you, blah blah blah. So stop doing that. If you can listen to customers and do what they're telling you, the
Yeah,
sky
yeah.
is your limit.
Before taking your opinion about what are the project priorities, what other project priorities should be, except from measuring CX, I would like to ask you something else. You said it's very important to listen to your customers, and until now, listening was mainly done by surveys. Do you think that surveys are enough? in order to listen to your customers nowadays?
I exactly the opposite. I feel that, and this is already happening as well. It's a huge tendency. We'll have less and less surveys
Yeah,
because customers don't want to make any effort every time. They don't want to. For a customer to answer a survey and to tell you what you want to know, it requires an effort from the customer side, and we should be able to make the experience effortless every time, effortless. So and another thing, I don't have the statistics, but I believe that I think that 95% or 98% of the surveys that are answered by customers are never even read by the companies, and they do nothing with that information, nothing. So why bother? Why make
yeah,
customers make that effort? There's all the information you need, it's right there. You just have to observe, you have to be there, you have to be able um, to train your people to really there's a training methodology done by the Ritz, the hotel, that's called radar on, antennas up, which is, they train all their employees to have the radar on, antennas up, and to be all the time super observant of customers, what they say, what they don't say, how they react, their body language, their words. There's so much information that customers are providing you all the time. With that information, you should be able to do things. And if you need to know something, ask them directly, but don't overdo the survey thing, because actually the surveys also, in a lot of ways, they are predetermined by the question you are making. If I what I like to do with surveys is very simple. It's like, how did you feel? Was it easy? Did you enjoy it? Things like that. Because when we start asking a lot of questions, or this is something I never do, like ask the customer, tell us, how do you think we could do a better job, how we could improve, and we say, hey, it's not the customer job to tell you how to do your job,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
So just but the only way to do this is if every employee in the organization, everybody understands that they have a double role. They have their job description, and also they have the CX function. They have to understand that they have to observe and see what works. If works, let's do it again. If it doesn't work, why? What happened? Was it the
yeah.
process? What was it? The way we communicate that process? It's a system thing. It's a what happened? You know. So yeah, it's not the only way service for sure.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. I mean, uh, we always tell to our customers that their customer wants to be heard when he decides to communicate, and not 3 months later through a survey. And anyway, we strongly believe that this is an AI field. I mean, it's a, you are totally right. I mean, it's less than 5% that they have the time to read all this feedback that they get. It's not only surveys, it's social media reviews, all this kind of thing. So this is
Everywhere.
a very boring thing. Repeated. I mean, it's repeatable, boring, with massive data. Rings a bell for AI again. I mean, it's obvious that such things are going to be covered by AI, and we already have an offering in Popuka. All right, all right. So uh, the one more question is, what is your priority? Okay, we agree. I mean, makes sense. For CX leaders, the first priority is to measure CX. What should be their second priority, especially in your region, in Latin America, Cecilia? because I don't know whether the priorities. I'm quite sure that the priorities are not the same globally. Let's take your region.
I think this is global. The answer
It's
is for
global. Okay, great.
everybody. Yeah,
Even
it's
better.
not for my region at all. Employee experience, without any question.
Employee experience.
Employee experience.
And
It all starts
could
with
you
the
could you could you
people.
tell us some more? What do you mean by employee experience? Because it's a huge thing.
It's a huge thing, but it's the base of the experience. You cannot give what you don't have. So sometimes we focus on processes. Okay, but what is a process? A process is the way people do things, or the way things, the way things have to happen in a certain moment in time, let's say. I don't know if that's not a book definition about it, but the process is what you have to do. Sometimes we focus on having these great processes, but if people don't understand them, they don't know it by heart, they don't know how to communicate those processes, they don't know how to implement those processes, they don't know what to do when the process doesn't work like exactly it was supposed to work. If you don't give people the empowerment, the mastery, the autonomy, and the connection with the company's purpose, the experience that you define in your strategy will never be real. That's why my company is called Real CX. To make it real, you have to make sure that every person that works in the organization, their job, one way or the other, will affect the customer perception. That's like the a basic thing. A lot of companies are not conscious about this. They say, no, we have to really train the customer. The call center agents, they have a certain radar of impact. you know because if a customer calls and says, hey, I didn't receive my chair, my product, and they don't have and they don't know what happened to the product, they cannot solve it to the customer. And if they make a request to the department that the team that delivers the products, and they don't react, and they don't understand, and they don't follow up, they're not going to be able to solve the customer problem. And again, we said that it's all about what customers are expecting versus what they receive. And a lot of times this has to do, of course, with the processes and systems, but there's an aspect of the expectation that it's an emotional thing. It's how they feel. So, I mean, companies are not a logo or a building. Companies are a group of people, right? And customers are not, a report, or not, they're people as well. So it's people interacting with people. If you want this to work, you have to focus on your people. And that's what employee experience is all about. There's a definition of employee engagement that I love, that it's when an employee has an inner desire, an intrinsic desire, a desire that comes from within. They really want the company to look good, to do well, and they really want customers to feel happy and good with the company. When you have an employee that has that desire, that they can set themselves apart of the equation, it's not about me making more money, it's not about me looking good with my boss. Culture, what is culture? What people do, what the employees do when the boss is not around. That's what culture is. How do you
Yeah.
react on your own? And if you really have that, inner desire that the company looks good, you will do whatever it takes for that customer to feel good, to solve the problem, to make it easy, to connect. So if you get that right, if you have a good and solid culture, and that's what customer employee experience is all about, the rest will follow. So I think that this is the big takeaway that happened with a pandemic as well, that people understood that it's all about people interacting with people. They were all in a call centers, we're all together, with a supervisor, all in the same place. Suddenly they were all alone in their houses, and you can see the real deal there. So
Yeah.
if the person had a really good culture, that person was attached with the values, and they had this engagement, they really wanted to come, you know things were going to be good. If they were only doing the things because there was a supervisor or a boss telling them what to do, the minute they were alone in their houses, things, I'm sure, didn't go well. So it's all about the people.
Okay, okay, Cecilia, makes sense now. Yeah, employee engagement. Yeah, yeah. This is quite explanatory. It explains what you mean with employee experience because it's quite wide. Okay, thank you, thank you. A last question. A last question. It's about customer experience in B2B. I mean, we are very used of managing customer experience in B2C companies, but what happens with B2B companies? Do you think that there is some room for improvement also there?
Yes, I think that B2B companies, the basics are exactly the same. B2C or B2B is the same. Again, people interacting with people. There's a customer, can be a company, or can be a consumer. But at the end of the day, if it's a company, if it's a business, it's not a building or a logo. It's Isidoro, it's Cecilia. It's a person that interacts with another person. So at that point, it's exactly the same. The very good thing for me about B2B companies is that you have an amazing opportunity to have a long-term relationship with that customer, right? Sometimes when you're talking about, a retail store, maybe that customer that buys a fridge or a TV, it's the one and only time they will go to that retail store, and then or visit the website, and it's a one shot, and you have to do it right, and maybe they won't come back again. When you're talking about B2B, usually there's a frequent relationship, and you can uh, um, take a lot of other aspects of that relationship to build that trust that is the base of loyalty. So I think that it's the same basis, but you have a richer opportunity to connect with that customer and build a relationship, and make a good business. So I think that it's a great opportunity for B2B companies to work more on the customer experience, for sure.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Cecilia, for I joined so much our interview, and I hope to meet you again. I mean, if you ever come to Athens or if I come to Buenos Aires to meet in person, because human relationship and employee experience and human to human interactions are the most important after all.
They
Thank you
are,
so
for
much.
sure. Thank you. It was a pleasure. I love
Bye
it. Bye
bye.
bye.